hope you like the backdrop to this video. I am in a place called Plage des Binets near Saint-Géron, and on this lake, which I forget the name of, it's about 3 or 4 words. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about in this video was some of the difficulties that I've had driving over the past couple of days. I've been using 2 different apps to navigate with. One is a paid app called CoPilot, and specifically it's called CoPilot Caravan for Europe, and that's the equivalent of CoPilot RV for the United States. And what that app allows you to do is put a profile for your vehicle, set the length, the height, width, all the dimensions, and so that you can configure it so that it's not going to send you down a road which has, for example, a low bridge or is too narrow for you to get down, anything like that. And then the other app was Google Maps, which of course most people should be familiar with and is free. Now, I have found both of them to be very useful in their own right, and both of them to also be quite disastrous in their own right. So, first of all, a couple of days ago, is on I think it was my first day driving, I was trying to find a hypermarket, an Auchan, and I had a look at the route where I was going, and I was passing through or very near a city called Rouen, which is a pretty big city, and there was an Auchan kind of just about there. So I thought, great, that's perfect, you know, passing through where I'm going, that's fine. Now, CoPilot, one downfall of that app, now unfortunately I can't show you the apps because they're on my phone, and I'm using my phone to record the video. So I'll put the links, well, it's just an app on your phone, you can find it, you know. But CoPilot, one downfall that it has is the search facility is absolutely useless. It doesn't find anything. And so really all you can do is input your destination either by address or coordinates. So what I did was I had a look on the Auchan website, I found the address and I plugged that in. And so it looked like, you know, most of these big hypermarkets, they're not in the town centres because they're so big. They're just sort of outside, usually half a mile or a mile outside the city. So you can imagine my surprise when I suddenly found myself right in the middle of Rouen, and it was like London. It was absolutely huge. It reminds me of London because it's a big city set in the river, just like the River Thames. Huge buildings, and there were people everywhere. This was the first day because it was Saturday afternoon, and it was, I mean, even this was horrific for me, and this isn't the bad bit. But what then happened was I suddenly hear "You have arrived." And I was like, no, I definitely haven't arrived. So I thought, what on earth do I do? So I had a look around. I thought maybe it's an Auchan Express, you know, one of these little ones that's kind of nestled in somewhere. No. So I was luckily, it was so busy that I was sat at traffic lights for ages. So what I did is I flicked over to Google Maps, and I thought, okay, I'll try and find it. So I've Googled for the Auchan, and it said, no, you're there. I was like, I'm not here. So I don't know actually what happened there. I don't know if the address was wrong because both Google Maps and CoPilot both said it was there. But anyway, like I said, that wasn't actually the problem. That was quite funny actually driving through the actual centre part. There seemed to be like a town square with people, thousands, it felt like thousands, sitting out in cafes, and I'm driving around in this massive motorhome and people were looking at me like I'm this alien. Oh, it was embarrassing. But anyway, so what I did is I've gone back onto Google Maps and I found another Auchan about 2 or 3 miles away. So I thought, okay, perfect. So I've plugged that in and then carried on using Google Maps. So I'm driving along. Next thing I know, loads of beeping going on, people waving. I'm like, what's going on? And I suddenly see in front of me a bridge, low bridge, 1.8 metres. My vehicle is 3.2. I'm like, shit. Luckily, I was able to stop, and I only had to reverse up a couple of metres and I was able to get on. But then I was like, what on earth do I do now? I can't use Google Maps, you know, because that Google Maps does not allow you to configure for your vehicle in the way that CoPilot does. Now, luckily, what CoPilot allows you to do, and I think Google can as well, is it allows you to put in several waypoints. So I had already programmed in my next destination. So I've just flicked back over to CoPilot and like, take me there, get me out of here. And I got out of Rouen and went on my way. So that was a very, very close call. I mean, I have seen videos on YouTube of lorries and motorhomes just crashing into bridges, and that could have been, I don't even want to think about how bad that could have been, but it was very, very scary and a really, really close call. So I'm lucky that I saw the bridge, you know. So I thought to myself, right, lesson learned there, never, ever, ever, ever use Google Maps for navigation in the motorhome. Until, of course, a couple of days later when I was forced to yet again. So the next problem I had was yesterday. I was coming here to this place, Saint-Géron. Now this is much further south of France. Rouen is still up north, and now I'm definitely in the southern half of France, and I can tell because the terrain has changed. In the north it's all flat, you know, fields and fields for miles and miles, and then here it's getting much more hilly, and I'm going through these towns where you've got to go up and down and these windy roads, and like the poor motorhome, especially on an uphill, it's chugging at like, you know, second gear, 25 miles an hour. It's painful, really painfully slow. But anyway, I was doing okay. It was tiring, but I was doing okay, and I was getting really close to here. And then again I get this thing, you have arrived. I'm like, no, I really haven't arrived. I'm in the middle of this little town. Hold on a moment. Just pausing for the passers-by there. So yeah, I'm in the middle of this little town, and I thought, what do I do now? And when I say little town, so I keep looking here instead of there again. When I say little town, I mean tiny. This was Saint-Géron itself, and the streets are super, super narrow. So I thought, okay, I've got to turn around. So I've carried on driving down this tiny little road, and I've got to this little tiny church with this, it's basically smaller than a driveway, but I managed somehow to do like a 3-5 point turn, whatever, on a slope, of course, a slope. I had to use my handbrake, and I managed to get out. But then I thought, well, what do I do now? Because the CoPilot app has not found the location. So I've parked up at this little church for a few minutes before I've turned around. So I thought, okay, I've got to try and find the correct address. But unfortunately, this particular area where I'm staying, it does not have it has a very vague address. It just has Plage d'Espinay, Saint-Géron, and a zip code. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no road name, nothing. And so I thought, what do I do? CoPilot can't find it. So I thought, I've got to go back to Google Maps, which I really didn't want to do after my incident in Rouen. But then I've gone over to Google Maps, and this is where that has the advantage. It has the area that I was staying at as one of its actual places. It was 8 kilometers away. It was 13 minutes going all the way, so I basically had to come out of Saint-Géron, so I had to go back the way I came. Now once I had turned around, it wasn't too bad. But I remember a few miles back I had seen a sign that said Plage d'Espinay, and I thought, ooh, I wonder if I should be going down that road. I thought, no, must follow the navigation app, and of course that was the right road I should have gone down. So Google Maps got me here, and oh god, I have never been so pleased to see an air when I arrived yesterday. I was feeling so frazzled. I'd had 2 hours of going through what felt like mountains. They're not mountains, I'm not far enough south for that yet. It's just hills, and it felt like some of those bends felt like hairpin bends, but they're not. They're nowhere near that bad yet. But it's still hairy in the motorhome. I mean, I guess it's because, you know, I'm still fairly new to it. I haven't done this much driving in a while. But anyway, so that is my experiences with the driving so far. So one thing I would like to know is there an app out there which combines the benefit of both? I really, really, really like to use Google Maps to search, because Google Maps seems to know everything that other search engines or map things don't have. But at the same time, I really want to be able to put in the dimensions of my vehicle, so I'm never again faced with a 1.8 metre bridge or a road that's too narrow to go down. So if there's an app out there, and this is an Android app, then I'd like to hear it, or maybe even a dedicated GPS unit, but then I doubt they're going to use Google interface. So yeah, if anyone knows of something which does that, please let me know in the comments. And I do recommend the CoPilot app. I'm very, very glad I bought it. A couple of other features that it has actually, which are very useful. One is that it displays the speed limit at all times, and that's useful when you're in a foreign country, because I'm used to miles. But in France here, it's kilometres. Now I'm kind of getting used to now. If I see 50, I know it's basically 30, it's 31. And if I see 70, I know it's 43. You know, I'm getting used to the speed limits, and I'm getting used to when they change. But when I first started driving, it was really useful to see, oh, it's suddenly in a 31 now, in a 50. And I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have the app. And oh, there was something else about it that I really liked. Oh yeah, it's got a lot of information on the screen. It's got a lane indicator thing. It will show you very clearly what lane you need to get in if there's any confusion up ahead, and that can be quite useful. And it's also got this kind of info bar at the bottom, which you can configure to display what you want. So I have it displaying, you know, how many miles I've got left and what my ETA is. There's about 6 different things it can display, and I just like the map display. It shows more information than Google does, but Google knows where everything is. There you go. So I hope you found this useful, and I hope you don't run into the same problems which I have.